Have you ever stopped to think about what the actual instruction manual for a living thing would look like? I mean, really look like. Well, today we're going to unpack the most fundamental blueprint in the entire known universe, DNA. We're not going to get bogged down in all the complicated jargon. Instead, we're going to see it for what it truly is, this elegant, simple set of instructions that builds every living thing. Let's dive right in.
So let's really chew on that question for a second. If you had to write a manual for building a person, or a plant, or even a tiny little bacterium, what would that look like? Where would you even start? Well, it turns out the answer to that massive question is hidden inside a single incredible molecule. And yeah, that master plan is tucked away inside almost every single one of your cells. It's a molecule called DNA. And its shape, its very structure, is the key that unlocks the secret of how life works, how it passes its instructions from one generation to the very next.
Okay, let's just get the full name out of the way. Deoxyribonucleic acid. It's a mouthful, I know. You don't have to remember it. What you do have to remember is its job, which is actually pretty straightforward. Think of it as the ultimate family recipe book. It carries all the hereditary information, all the genetic instructions that make you, well, you.
You know, the best way to really understand how DNA works is to just build one ourselves. So let's do it. We're going to think of it as a really, really long ladder that's been twisted, and we'll start with the basic parts. Now, that famous twisted ladder shape has a name you've probably heard a million times, the double helix. And when scientists finally figured out this exact shape, it was this massive aha moment, because suddenly everything just clicked. Understanding the parts of this helix is the key to seeing how it so perfectly stores and copies information. All right, so every ladder needs a few basic things, right? First, you need the sides. For DNA, that's a sturdy backbone made of alternating sugar and phosphate bits. They give it its structure. Second, you need the rungs. Now, these are the most important part. They're what connect the two sides. And this is where the information is actually stored. And finally, the twist. The two sides just wind around each other to create that iconic, super stable double helix shape.
Okay, so this is absolutely crucial. The real secret to life isn't in the sides of the ladder. It's in the rungs. The specific order of the chemicals that make up those rungs, well, they form a kind of language, a four-letter code that writes the instructions for everything. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. The entire instruction manual for every form of life we know is written with an alphabet of just four letters. That's it. A for adenine, C for cytosine, G for guanine, and T for thymine. The specific sequence of these letters is what spells out every single biological message. But here's the thing. These letters don't just hook up with any other letter randomly. Nope. There is one simple, powerful, absolutely unbreakable rule that makes the whole thing work. It's called complementary base pairing, and all it means is that each letter has only one possible partner. And the rule is this simple. A always, always pairs with T, and G always, always pairs with C. That's it. No exceptions. This isn't just a casual preference. It is the structural law that holds the entire system together. And there's a really cool reason for this rule. See, A and G are slightly bigger molecules, and T and C are slightly smaller. So by always pairing a big one with a small one, every single rung on that DNA ladder is the exact same width. This is what keeps the two backbones perfectly parallel, creating that incredibly strong and uniform double helix. It's genius. So we have this super stable structure, which is great. But how does that help pass information along? Well, this is where the design goes from clever to absolutely brilliant. The double helix structure itself is a perfect copying machine. Let me show you what I mean. Because A only ever pairs with T and G only ever pairs with C, the sequence of letters on one side of the ladder is a perfect mirror image of the other side. Think about it. If you know the sequence of one strand, you automatically know the sequence of its partner. Each side is a perfect template for rebuilding the other. So when a cell needs to make a copy of its DNA, the process is just beautiful. First, the ladder unzips right down the middle, separating the two strands. Then, each of those original strands acts as a perfect mold. New letters float in and fill the gaps, strictly following that A with T, G with C rule. And what do you get at the end? Two brand new, totally identical DNA ladders, each one a perfect copy of the original.
Okay, so we've seen the elegant structure and the perfect copying trick. Now let's zoom way out and think about the sheer scale of this thing. How can this simple four-letter alphabet possibly build something as ridiculously complex as a human being? Well, the answer is in what the code actually spells out. That long sequence of A's, C's, G's, and T's. It's the recipe for building proteins. And proteins are the real construction workers in our cells. They do pretty much everything, from building your muscles to carrying oxygen in your blood. The DNA is the blueprint, and the proteins are the workers that build the house. To give you a sense of just how much information we're talking about, try to picture this. If you were to print out the complete genetic sequence of a single human being, it would fill over 1,000 books, a whole library of instructions just for one person. But now, get this. That entire library of information, which, if you stretched it all out, would be about 2 meters long, is coiled up and packed inside the nucleus of a single cell, a space so tiny you can't even see it. It is, without a doubt, the most incredible information storage system in the known universe. And that entire library, that complete set of genetic information for one organism, has a name: the genome. It is the full, unabridged instruction manual containing the code for every single protein your body will ever need to make, from the day you're born to the day you die. So when you step back, the most profound thing about DNA is its incredible simplicity. It's an elegant structure based on one simple pairing rule that lets a four-letter alphabet write the entire story of life on this planet. We've finally learned how to read this amazing blueprint. The only question left is, what new stories are we going to learn to write?